Good afternoon. So glad you're with us here on this Thursday. Almost made it to Friday, Nathan. I'm Michael Aaron, meteorologist Nathan Scott over in the Weather Center. Another chilly morning on our hands. What's the afternoon looking like?
Well, good afternoon, Michael. Yeah, we saw clouds move into the region, made for a spectacular sunrise this morning. I've got a picture to show you coming up. But with the clouds around, that's holding the numbers down. Still in the 30s in Russellville, also Clinton. And there's a sharp line in where the clouds are and where the clouds are not. And that's pretty much south and east of Pulaski County. Pine Bluff, you're at 44, 48 in Monticello. We'll hang on to a lot of clouds out there today, but nothing showing up on radar. We had that weak disturbance swing its way through while you were sleeping last night. Managed to produce just a few isolated flurries. So the story today is going to be the cloud cover. Temperatures warming up into the mid to upper 40s across the region. But look what's going to be happening. Afternoons ahead, we'll start to get out of the cool spell and temperatures warming above average second half of the weekend early next week. That's ahead of our next big storm system, which could bring us maybe a little bit of wintry weather for parts of the state. I'll have more on that coming up in just 1 second, but you notice we're going to have the chance of numbers getting into the low 60s for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we'll see a drop off on Thursday. A lot of social media is talking about this next storm system moving into the region next week. Now, when you see something posted on social media, you got to make sure it's coming from a reliable source. And I'll let you know what the models are showing on this particular storm system coming up a little bit later.
Nathan, thank you. We'll see you here in a few. Today, Governor Asa Hutchinson will meet with his COVID task force. They'll work to determine the next steps for freeing up hospital space. It comes as we see some potentially encouraging signs in this latest COVID-19 report. Here are the 3 things you need to know about the state's fight against COVID right now. Let's start with this. At over 1,800, we're once again at a record number of COVID hospitalizations. While Omicron is more mild than other variants, hospitals are still struggling. Right now, just 23 ICU beds are available in the entire state. As for daily cases, we saw just over 6,500 reported on Wednesday. That number is half of what we saw on the same day last week. As the state's hospitals deal with this pressure, a new digital system is helping them coordinate when and where space opens up for those new patients. It's called Pulsara and works like a virtual waiting room for patients who need a transfer. The system replaces COVIDcom, a third-party service. Transfers through that were coordinated by dispatchers calling around to different hospitals. One thing is clear already, this new system seems to be a hit with local hospitals.
You know, the former way of doing that was multiple calls in order to get a bed available or to know where a patient might be able to land.
So I think that this portal, transfer portal, is going to be a really good tool for us moving forward in the future. And I think it showed a great deal of foresight.
The Arkansas Department of Health says we may be near the peak in COVID cases, but it'll likely be a couple more weeks for hospitalizations to reach their peak. Some states are having to take extraordinary measures because of the Omicron surge. New Mexico's governor has called on the National Guard just to keep students in the classroom. 80 guardsmen and women have volunteered as substitute teachers. That's because so many regular teachers and other staff are sidelined with COVID. The superintendent of one school district there in New Mexico says this COVID surge has not only left her without enough teachers, it's been devastating for her entire community.
We've lost parents of students in our school. We've lost spouses of our staff.
The National Guard expects to have about 100 citizen soldiers marching into classrooms in the coming days. All volunteer substitutes are vetted with background checks and go through the state substitute teacher training course. Most viewed on THV11.com this afternoon, Little Rock police have made a second arrest in the deaths of 2 men found in a car outside Baptist Hospital back in December. Davon Roberts is charged with 2 counts of capital murder, terroristic act, and firing a gun from a vehicle. He's the second person arrested in this case. Devarius Clark was taken into custody earlier this month. State police have made an arrest in the hit-and-run accident that left an RDOT worker dead last week. Crystal Johnson of North Little Rock is in the Pulaski County Jail. Her charges include leaving the scene of an accident involving death and filing a false police report. In a statement, RDOT Director Lori Tudor says, quote, We're grateful for the rapid response and quick work by the Arkansas State Police to bring resolution to this devastating incident. Overseas, Russia is continuing its military buildup along the borders of Ukraine. The Russian Navy has been holding new exercises in the region. The U.S. and NATO have given Moscow a written response to its demands for security guarantees, but they're also preparing for a possible Russian invasion of Ukraine. Holly Williams has more from the Ukrainian capital.
There were more Russian military drills yesterday, and 6 US fighter jets arrived in Eastern Europe for NATO drills. With roughly 100,000 Russian troops massed on Ukraine's border, Russia's demands include rolling back NATO forces from Eastern Europe and a ban on Ukraine joining NATO. America's written response was hand-delivered yesterday by the US ambassador to Moscow. It hasn't been made public. But the US and NATO have made it clear they will not agree to those demands. The US reiterated an alternative proposal it's made before.
The placement of offensive missile systems in Ukraine, military exercises and maneuvers in Europe, all of these things would address, I think, mutual concerns, including concerns stated by Russia.
Another concern is Germany's dependency on Russia for its energy needs, which could fracture NATO's solidarity. Germany's the biggest buyer of Russian natural gas and has refused to send weapons to Ukraine.
Should Russia choose to weaponize its natural gas by cutting supply to Europe even more than it's already done? We're in discussions with governments and major producers around the world about surging their capacity.
At St. Michael's Golden Domed Monastery in Kyiv, where the faithful have worshipped for over 900 years, some Ukrainians told us they're praying for peace. This woman said she hopes God will talk some sense into Russia.
The US says the ball is now in Russia's court, but a Kremlin spokesman said that Russia's main concerns have not been addressed by the US. He also said that the current situation is reminiscent of the Cold War. Holly Williams, CBS News, Kyiv, Ukraine.
If you're hoping to place legal bets on this year's Super Bowl from your phone, you're out of luck. Legislators have raised questions about the mobile sports betting program. Tomorrow would have been the Arkansas Legislative Council's meeting to decide on mobile sports betting. State lawmakers decided that they needed more time. During an earlier meeting this week, the Racing Commission changed a word in the commission's rule book. A commission spokesman tells us the change was all about clarification.
It was net gaming revenue, and they looked at Amendment 100, which is the state's casino amendment. It says net casino gaming receipts. So they changed the rule, the revised rule regarding gaming, to say net casino gaming receipts, just to keep everything consistent.
According to Scott Harden, who you heard from right there, the word change and the moving of the ALC's approval do not affect the overall mobile sports betting program. It just resulted in new questions. In a THV 11 update now, Little Rock City leaders are stepping back from a plan to temporarily halt the building of any new dollar stores within city limits. Last week, the city put a 9-month moratorium on new low-price convenience stores, citing studies showing that grocery stores tend to close down when dollar stores pop up in urban areas and can leave people without access to healthy food options. But this week, city directors reversed their decision to do some more research on the trend and find the root of the problem.
So I think it was a wise thing to do is let's put a pause on this and let's get the information, because we want everything that we do to be data driven.
The original halt on dollar stores was set to last 9 months. That now becomes the deadline for the new study the city will conduct on food deserts. Stocks have fallen following the Federal Reserve's 2-day policy meeting. As expected, the Fed's president said the central bank could raise interest rates soon as it tries to rein in inflation. Analysts expect that to happen later this year, in March actually. It would be the first hike since the pandemic began. Some families still qualify for a third round of stimulus if they didn't receive it last year. Households whose families grew in 2021 qualify for an additional payment of up to $1,400. Growth could have been through having a baby or adding a dependent like a niece or nephew during the year, living with you of course. The IRS will issue those payments based on this year's filing season. The U.S. economy accelerated in the fourth quarter of 2021. According to the Commerce Department, GDP, or the sum of all goods and services, rose nearly 7%, 6.9% by the end of last year. That's better than expected, even as a rise in COVID infections weighed on various industries. Meanwhile, fewer Americans signed up for unemployment benefits last week. According to the Labor Department, first-time filings for weekly jobless claims fell by 30,000 to 260,000. That was slightly better than expected. A federal judge says the Pulaski County Special School District is on track to becoming desegregated. The final remaining obstacle is making Mills High School equal in facilities to Robinson High. The district has a plan to do that, and the judge says all the details check out. As long as the district carries out the plan in good faith, it will receive what's called unitary status, meaning it's legally considered to be desegregated. Here are the new projects for Mills High School: adding 10 new classrooms, improving the ROTC building to match federal standards, adding a softball field, and building an arena with 2,200 seats. The total cost for all of this, about $19 million.